What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla SPY and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down some very important levels to be watching for in the markets, what's happening in news about Tesla, what you should be watching for as time progresses. But before I begin to double information, before I talk about this breakout on Tesla stock, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull and deposit $500, you guarantee 20 free stocks, and the offer ends in just 3 days from now. Anyways, for Tesla, we have a very, very nice looking uptrend that's been established thus far. Starting with this low at 167, Tesla's been continuing to make higher highs and higher lows, climbing very, very nicely. But what's worth noting is the fact that in this symmetrical structure, the full measure move is not complete quite yet. We're seeing Tesla at this first level of resistance. I still think that Tesla could attempt to go even higher from here and still holding up very, very well approaching its deliveries. Now, there's been some news coming out that 447 shares of Tesla were bought by Future Financial Wealth Management LLC, which is another good piece of news because we're starting to see a lot of these institutions starting to acquire more Tesla shares. Even if they are modest positions, some of them are actually buying a lot more. But that was actually about a $79,000 position that was just acquired. So that is good as we're seeing more buyers stepping in, more optimism for the stock. The Tesla Model S and Model X included consumer reports used to avoid list, and that's actually not the best of news for Tesla. There are some negative headlines that sometimes come out, negative reviews. They're actually saying this for a couple of other things. Some companies out there are saying to avoid these cars due to, a lot of different issues. They said the same thing about the Rivian R1T in 2022. They tend to do this due to many different factors, such as awkward steering wheels and factors like that. So I want to actually call out their arguments as well. I do have to say that they have a lot of points about how there's not everything is perfect in a Tesla, but I have to also mention that what they fail to really acknowledge is the fact that Teslas also have a lot of benefits that completely surpass that of other vehicles, such as their safety scores, safety ratings, and also a lot of really cool features. So I feel like their rating is not really comprehensive. It doesn't really capture every single aspect of Tesla when they talk about avoiding these. That's my personal opinion. I do want to call out that they did mention a lot of steering wheel issues and things like that for Teslas. But once again, their overall argument is just not comprehensive in my view. There's also been some news that Tesla's facing legal and regulatory actions over environmental issues at its Fremont factory. This is actually very common because the Bay Area Air Quality Management District has ordered Tesla to curb what is called the harmful and toxic emissions from its Fremont factory, setting more than 100 air quality violation notices since 2019. We also want to note that there's been a lot of talk about how, right now there's been a lot of toxic materials that have to be disposed of, and there's in the past they were arguing that Tesla was not really dumping them as effectively as they should have been, and now there's talk about how the air quality is not as great around there. So there's a lot of things Tesla has to deal with illegally. So we'll see how things go for Tesla, but this is making a lot of headlines at least for now. For news about the overall markets, just know that today is Thursday, June 27th, 2024. We don't really have anything else that's too crazy coming out. We just had initial jobless claims in the GDP numbers. The GDP price index was at 3.1% aligned with expectations, and the growth quarter over quarter was aligned with expectations at 1.4%. Initial jobless claims was at 233,000, a little bit below expectations. So overall, most of the data was aligned with expectations, besides GDP sales being a little bit higher, but that's pretty much it. Now we basically have at 11 o'clock a.m. the Fed Composite Index and the Fed Manufacturing Index, not to mention the 4-week and 8-week bill auctions at 11:30 a.m. So look for some volatility at these times, Eastern Standard Time. A couple of things about the market overall. The market's been a little sluggish as we're still range bound. That is worth noting. Levi's posted better than expected earnings after the bell, but revenue fell short of expectations. So kind of an overall mixed amount of earnings. There's also been some talk about how Amazon's planning to launch a budget storefront that features low-cost apparel, home goods, and other things, which could once again be very, very bullish for them and help them compete with that of Chinese companies. So good for them. And then besides that, Southwest Airlines cut its second quarter revenue forecast on Wednesday. Not very good guidance for them. And that's the reason why we actually saw a bit of a dip in the share price. So that's pretty much it, at least for my analysis. Now the question is, what's going to happen at least with the share prices of all these different companies? As right now, Tesla's holding up very, very nicely, continuing to shuffle. I'm seeing a lot of strength building up with the stock right now. So I think that if Tesla could try to break past 196.5, this is going to be a tough resistance. We'll be looking for this to get very close to 200. I think it's going to achieve that very soon within the next couple of days. If we end up breaking down, watch support around the 194 area. If we lose this, we'll be dipping all the way down to 192 to retest the breakout zone. So Tesla did dip a little bit during the pre-market. It's also possible we come down to about 194 before we attempt to bounce back up. I think we're just going to range trade from here and see which way it breaks to determine the much bigger move. But there is still a breakout on Tesla, so regardless of if we do end up coming down to 192, this would be a buying opportunity for a big bounce and a continuation to 200. And if we only dip to about 194, then we could still bounce and push a little bit higher. One of those two levels could be tested, but I still think that Tesla has upside potential. And overall, it's still holding up very well, especially if we try to break 196.5. So overall, so good from Tesla. That's awesome to see. As far as SPY goes, I'm noticing that SPY is holding up very well, getting this nice little break here. We are still stuck within this range, so we have to see if SPY can break resistance. We have 545.8 as resistance with this break, so I'll be looking at 547. If we break this, we will turn very bullish. If we break down, you want to see it lose 544, then 543. Losing that would turn us back down to 541. Then eventually the gap fill for the head and shoulders to play out. As of right now, the 4 hour is looking stronger on SPY, and this is actually favoring the upside a bit more for a push for 547 plus. That looks a bit more probable, so we'll have to see if we push to 547 and then get a big rejection, or if we push to 547 breakout. It is looking like it wants to push higher, so we will see what the reaction is off 547, but it looks a little bit more bullish overall. For Nvidia, Nvidia is also trying to pump a little bit. If we break past 125.8, if we break through this, we'll be looking for this imbalance fill towards 129. And if we end up projecting here, we'll be dipping back down towards 123. If we lose this, we'll be dipping all the way down to about 120. But I think that looking at Nvidia, there's a good chance that this can continue to push a little higher. It is building a little bit of momentum, so we will see if we can try to get back to 130, if not break it. One thing about Nvidia is it loves to run, so I'll give it some time. Lose 123, we turn a little bit more bearish. There's going to be a bigger dip coming, and break 126. I'll be looking for 130. If that breaks, it's going to be looking for a big pump. I'm in the middle, guys, so give it some time. It's still range bound, so we will see. But something worth noting is that Bitcoin is trying to rebound a little bit, so it did dip down to our target right here towards 60,500. Now it's retesting its 20 EMA. If we break 61,500, I'll be looking for 62,800. If we fail to do so, we will reject. It is looking like Bitcoin's trying to build a little bit of life here. So we'll see if we can break 61,500. If that breaks, look for a bigger push. For the QQQ, we're also holding up here. We bounced off our 50 EMA. We're at 480. Watch 482 and 484. If it breaks 484, we turn back to bullish. If we lose 480, watch 479. If that fails us, I'll be looking at 478 to 476, and then we'll be dipping back down. But this does look like it has some potential for a slanted inverse head and shoulders and a little push higher as a stronger possibility, especially as we have this imbalance above. That looks more probable, at least for me. For Apple, Apple has a nice inverse head and shoulders, a nice accumulation structure. It looks more bullish to me. Going to be looking for a test of 215. If we break this, we're going back up towards the all-time high. So watch for a test of 215. I think we might test this today. We'll see if this breaks. If it does, this is going to go even higher, so it has more potential to push higher, in my personal opinion. On the other hand, we have Supermicro still kind of shuffling right over here. If we end up losing 815, I'll be looking for a dip down to about 800 and 780. If we manage to break back up, we'll look for 844 to be tested. I think we might actually test 844 and kind of shuffle for a bit, but this hand and shoulders is still here. It's still imminent, so just be a little bit careful. Might pop a little bit today and then continue to shuffle, so I'll give it some time. AMD trading sideways right now. We are dipping still. We did end up coming down to about 155 before getting bought back up. We could try to push back up if we break past 157.5. I'll be looking for a retest of 159. It is possible we come back up and then just come back down, just kind of continue to trade sideways. I'm seeing potential in that. Coinbase dipped all the way down to about 213, so it came short of my 210 target. I'm sorry, 211, but and it came a little bit short of my 210 target. Trying to rebound here, so it might retest this 20 EMA at 222. We'll see if this bounces from a double bottom. So watch 222. We're going to likely push to test that. If we reject it, we're going to be dipping lower. If we break 222, we'll be looking for a push back up to 230. I'll be watching that very carefully. For Amazon, we're continuing to break out. Watch 195 as resistance. If this breaks, 196 is coming, then 197.5. It's still looking more bullish on the 4-hour. For Meta, we're looking more bullish as well with 515 coming. Breaking this opens the doors for about 517, followed by 518, then 520. And if we reject it, we'll be dipping back down to about 512. So I see more upside potential to push up towards that wick. For Microsoft, in my opinion, is also building momentum. We're on a very, very nice uptrend so far, touching this 20 EMA many times. I think that it's going to continue to shuffle around 452.5. We could go a little bit higher. It could be pushing closer. It's about 455 over time. So it's still looking more bullish. And then we have Google. It dipped a little bit to about the 184 area, only to get bought back up. So it's still shuffling between 186 and 184. I think it may continue to do so. It is possible it dips a little bit later to 183, though. But I think for now, we're just going to trade sideways on Google around this range. GME is still kind of stuck. We have to break past 25.5 to turn back to bullish. Otherwise, we're just trading sideways. AMC is no different. We need to break past 4.70 to turn bullish. Otherwise, we're still stuck within a range. Anyways, that is pretty much it for my video. As far as Tesla goes, it is building lots of steam, looking pretty strong, and it has potential to go all the way up to the 200s in my personal opinion. So I think we'll be seeing 200 very soon with this nice double bottom-like structure, and also because of the inverse head and shoulders. So I see a nice push coming. Just watch and see for the short term if we end up losing 194 or not. If we lose 194, we could be dipping down to 191.6 to retest the high before we try to bounce. If not, if we hold above 194, we could be looking for a continuation higher. But either way, whether we dip down to retest the breakout at 191, 191.6 to 191.8, this area right here. If we come down to retest this, we could still bounce and push to 200. If we don't come down much, if it's just 194 at tap of that, then we continue higher. We could still go up to 200. So either way, it's still bullish. Either way, whether we get a small dip or not, Tesla still looks bullish nonetheless. The breakout is still imminent. All right, so thank you for listening, guys. I'll see you guys very soon in just a couple of hours, and peace out.